Hi gentlemen, in 9.2 we want to focus on the function of xylem and phloem after learning about the different structure and their respective function in 9.1. So for today's video, I will only focus on the function of xylem and phloem and will pay special attention to the structures, right, of xylem and phloem as well to understand how the structure helps it to carry out the function effectively. I will not be covering the positions of xylem and phloem in different segments of the leaf and the stem, as I will leave it to the next lesson when I see you in class. So bear with me gentlemen, this would be a really short video, just paying attention to xylem and phloem, the cross section of it as seen in these two images over here. So at first glance, are you able to tell the difference between xylem and phloem if no clue was given? How are we able to tell that the left hand side is xylem and the right hand side is phloem? This is the cross section of the stem, right? So the stem that looks like that, all right, it will be cut in this manner. Alright, so what you are seeing is the cross section of the xylem and phloem, alright, as taken in these pictures. So let's take a look at xylem first. As we know, it transports two different substances, water and mineral salt, from the roots to the rest of the plant. And not only that, what keeps the plant upright is due to a particular substance found in the xylem known as the lignin. Lignin is a substance that provides mechanical support to the plant so that the stem is able to keep the entire plant upright. So you need to know the substance. It's called lignin. It's just a substance that will strengthen the entire plant so that it stays upright and it's able to receive sunlight for photosynthesis. So how does the xylem vessel look like in order to carry out its function of transporting water and mineral salt effectively? Alright, so it's a lot of words, and let me help you to break it down to understand. Alright, so for xylem, if I were to cut across the cross section of the xylem, alright, so this is something how the xylem would look like. Alright, it's made out of different segments, alright, different segments of cells that combines together. But the interesting thing about xylem cells is that it has a continuous empty lumen. It has no nucleus, no cell membrane, and cytoplasm that is found in xylem, so that water is able to flow in a continuous manner, right, from the roots to other parts of the leaf of the plant without any resistance. So there is no cell membrane, no organelles inside the xylem, alright, in order to make space and allow water and mineral salt to flow smoothly through the xylem vessel. Alright, so how is this possible? It's because it is made out of dead cells. Right, so each of this is one dead cell. That does not have any cell organelles. Alright, that combines together to form a hollow tube to ensure that water is able to flow continuously through the entire xylem vessel. And the third point over here, as I mentioned in the previous part of this video, lignin. Lignin is a very strong and rigid substance, so the vessel will not collapse inwards as it provides mechanical support. So these are the three different structures that the xylem has, features, alright, to help it carry out its function more effectively. Next, let's talk about phloem. Phloem is a bit more complicated, so let's take it through one set at a time to understand it fully. So over here you can see Phloem transports manufactured food. I already told you that you need to know the two different substances of food that it transport from the leaves to the rest of the plant. You may wonder, why sucrose and not glucose? Let's take a step back. Sucrose is a double sugar. Alright, so which two single sugar is sucrose made up of? Alright, this is early knowledge from Sec 3. You should know by now. Sucrose is made up of glucose plus fructose. Alright, so glucose and fructose combine together to give you sucrose so that food can be transported more effectively. Instead of transporting 1 unit of glucose at a time, by combining the glucose and fructose, 2 units of single sugar can be transported at all times in the form of sucrose. So that is the whole entire idea of transporting in the form of sucrose and amino acids. So if you pay attention to how the cross-section of the phloem tissue look like, you will see some interesting and distinct structure that you didn't see in the xylem tissue. Let's zoom in to find out more. Alright, so how do we understand this? Similar to xylem, where many different dead cells fuse together, what you see over here are known as sieve tube element. I repeat myself, sieve tube element, which simply refers to one phloem cell. So you can see over here, alright, this is one sieve tube element, alright, and this over here with the nucleus is another sieve tube elements. Alright, so phloem is made up of a tube of sieve tube elements joined together to give you the entire phloem tissue. And unlike xylem that transport water and mineral salt from the root all the way up to the rest of the plant, for phloem it is able to transport food in both directions depending on where the leaves are located and where the demand of food is. Okay, so you can see this. Right, sieve tube element or sieve tube cell can be used interchangeably, but usually we go with sieve tube element. And not just that, alright, it has a little body that's attached to it. Alright, so the sieve tube element that you can see over here is accompanied by a companion that I highlight in yellow over here. Alright, so what is the point of the companion cell? I will cover in the next slide. And if I look from the top down view of the phloem, alright, if I am looking down in this manner from the top, looking down, I will see that the sieve tube elements are all separated by this thing over here known as the cross wall. Alright, so you can see that you can find a cross wall in between two sieve tube element on top and below of it. So you see, there are so many interesting and distinct features, and let me explain to you each and every one of them and how it helps the phloem to transport sucrose and amino acid effectively. Alright, so similar to xylem, alright, the sieve tube cell lacks nucleus. Alright, it still has a bit of cytoplasm, whereas in the xylem, alright, there is no cell membrane, no cytoplasm, no nucleus. So I'll write it down over here. Alright, xylem cells, no cell membrane, no nucleus, no cytoplasm. But for phloem, cells, which are the sieve tube elements, alright, no nucleus. Alright, but it still has a bit of cytoplasm. Why is that so? Same idea, it is to make space so that food can travel quickly through it without any disruption. And like what I've mentioned just now, each of this is a sieve tube element. STE for short, sieve tube element, that are joined together, alright, to form a continuous column, continuous phloem, that will prevent any resistance to the flow of food within it. Alright, so imagine just combining many different straws together to form the phloem tube. Alright, so I've covered two structural adaptation. The next one is the sieve plates as well as the companion cell that I mentioned. So from what I mentioned just now, when we have a top-down view of the phloem, we will see that two sieve tube elements are separated by a cross wall. So what does the cross wall do? The cross wall, as you can see, contains many holes, and this should remind you of the sieves that we use at home to filter. For example, when you bake, you want to remove the clumps in the flour before baking. So what is the point of the sieve tube, the sieve pores? Alright, the holes are known as the sieve pore. So what is the point of having cross wall? Alright, it is to make sure that only sucrose and amino acid passes through it so that the food is able to flow effectively. Alright, so to allow only sucrose and amino acid to pass through. And last but not least, as seen over here in the diagram, alright, each sieve tube element has a companion cell. Alright, since the sieve tube does not have nucleus, it cannot do many cell activities. But moving and transporting sucrose and amino acid is a very tiring process. So the transport of sucrose and amino acid requires energy. So where does the energy come from? The companion cell. So imagine if one person is not good with running, the most ideal is always to have another friend to run along to push you and encourage you. So the companion cell works the same way. The companion cell provides energy for the phloem, the sieve tube elements, to transport sucrose and amino acid. Alright, it takes energy, right, to load it into the phloem as well. Alright, so energy is needed for the loading. So these are the 4 features that you need to be familiar with for phloem. Alright, I'll end off over here and I'll continue with the positions in the next lesson. So fill up your notes to this point and look at the different structure to function relationship in xylem and phloem. Many new content, many new features that you have not seen before. So I'd like you to spend some time reading through the notes again and pen down some questions that you'd like to ask me in class. I really hope that all of you watch both videos diligently during the HBL Friday and weekend so that when we come back on Monday, our lessons will be more productive. Alright, take care and see you soon.